if you're posting what to post. When I would post, I would break it into 30%.
Okay.
30% business. If you asked other people, they would probably say like, hey, mostly post business. But for me,
Hmm.
the formula that worked was very similar to yours. It was 30% business, 30% family, and 30% of my personal interests. So that way they knew
Hmm.
you were family oriented, you like to work out. People will identify with you over the craziest things. People identified with
Hmm.
me because they were like, well, she works out. We have similar, like, I imagine they think, well, if I'm going to go house shopping, I'm going to go with someone that I would like. She seems
Yeah.
cool. I think I would like her. So, people want to do business with people that they like.
Hey, you guys, welcome back. Today we have Maribel Juarez from Houston, Texas, who's going to share us how she's built her business through Facebook and sphere of influence. Hey, Maribel, how are
Hi,
you?
thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. A lot of people talk about getting business through social media. I know it's funny because I was asking all these questions and I'm like, what is it? Instagram, YouTube? And you're like, no, Facebook.
Facebook, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so tell me about it because I literally only do Facebook when my Instagram stuff posts to my Facebook account.
It's funny. So I started with Facebook before Instagram was really had a lot of the features that it does now. But I will say it's really about taking a look at your database, right? And so when I started with Facebook, I was on a team. I was on the Mark Demas team, and I was the new kid on the block. And although we got leads, even then I understood that this really needs to be only one source of where I get my business from, but that I needed to have multiple sources, right? And in case one lags, then I can kind of supplement with the other. And so I basically Mark and Eddie were good friends back then. And so Eddie would come into town and sit in on some of our team meetings. And he built his business, his real estate business on Facebook. And so he essentially gave us the playbook. He told us how often we needed to be posting, when we needed to be posting. And I just took his playbook and I implemented a lot of those things. And then I found what kind of worked for me, and I'll get into those things. I found what worked for me, and it's still what brings me the most business now.
Wow.
I do use Instagram, but I use it in a completely different way, and I can get into that as well. But essentially, what I did was if you look at your social media platform like a database,
Mhm.
okay, which one is the strongest? For me, it was Facebook. And let's talk about why. Because I had high school classmates there, their parents, childhood friends, their parents, college classmates. And I got into real estate when I was 32. Was I 32? I was 30 or 32. I want to say I was somewhere in that age. So within age buying range. So for me, that demographic was going to be in an age buying range as well. And so that's why I decided to kind of double down on Facebook, and I utilized all of the functions. Now, back then it didn't have stories. So I was posting content. So I was posting, and when we think of content, I'm not saying that I spent the time to like create any really pretty graphics. Actually, for a long time, I remember being stumped and thinking, what do I post? I think that people kind of feel like they get stuck in that with Instagram as well.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until I was listening to Gary Vee, and he had a podcast where he was like, don't worry about creating content, just document. And so what I ended up doing was if I was meeting a client, like a home buyer for a
Mhm.
consultation, I would take a picture of a coffee cup and I would post that to Facebook. I know it sounds terrible now, but I would post that to Facebook and then I would tag the location. Houston's a really big city, so we have a lot of suburbs. So if I was to say, hey, I'm in Houston, like a native Houstonian would be like, well, which part, north part, north, southeast or west. And so what I didn't want to happen is that people pigeonhole me and think, well, Maribel just works up north, or because they saw me frequently posting that I sold homes up north. So what I would do is when I would post that coffee cup, I would tag the Starbucks and the city it was in or the suburb that it was in. And I would post at all different times of the day. I would post in the morning, I would post mid-afternoon, I would post in the evening. Sometimes I would hold my post so that I would post in the evening. And so inadvertently what you're telling your audience is one, Maribel works all over Houston, doesn't just work a certain part of town. She does this in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. She is a full-time agent.
Hmm.
And I would post like a caption like super excited for my newest future homeowner. Like we're excited to, we met to discuss, their search parameters, whatever. I kept it short and sweet. And then sometimes I would put a call to action and other times I didn't. Sometimes I would say, hey, if you're looking or you're thinking about buying, give me a call or send me a DM. And I would post stuff like that. I would post, if I was doing an inspection, I was posting a picture of the house or a picture of the inspector explaining things. And again, I would just post something short and sweet and be like, it's inspection day for this beauty and, stuff like that. And so I probably did that consistently for like a month. And then when I tell you that the DMs just started coming in, every time I would post, and even still to this day, if I posted something, someone would slide in and be like, "Hey, my sister's thinking about buying a home. Like, can I give them your number?" I'm not even joking. And so why that is because I had a closer proximity to these people. They knew of me because we met somewhere along the way. And so at the end of the day, people would rather do business with people that they like and that they trust. And so it was always a warm handoff. And so not only was I getting business from Facebook, but my conversion rate is a lot higher on Facebook because again, I know them, whether it be I knew them directly or I know them through some form of degree of separation. And that's how I built, it's essentially how I built my business. And then so what ended up happening is I you add to this database, right? Like I treated Facebook like a like follow-up boss or like any other
Hmm.
CRM. What do they say? The best CRM to use, I mean to have is
That was the
the
one you
one that you
used.
use. Yeah.
Yep.
And so what would happen is I mean, think of how difficult, how far you have to go out of your way to message a client or, you have to pick up your phone, pull up their contact, message them and say, "Hey, how are things going?" Whereas social media really gives you the opportunity to do that organically, to have those touches. And so when we were closing, I'd be like, oh my God, let me add you on Facebook. And so how I use that for Instagram is that I use that for specific clients. So
Mm-hmm.
I will, for Instagram, I use it to retain and stay in front of like my clients that are millennials and younger because
Hmm.
they're on that platform a lot more than they are on Facebook. My older demographic, like I have two different buyers, right? And so
Yeah.
I post to both, but what I post to each individual platform, it looks a little different. So I would do that, or if I was hosting an open house, I would go live. And the reason being is because when you go live, everyone who follows you gets a notification and they say, "Hey, Rose is going live." And so they could just click and then they could click on the little notification and instantly be taken to your live. And so even if it was maybe no more than a minute, I would say, "Hey guys, it's me. I'm out on this beautiful day hosting an open house at 1234 Main Street. And let me give you guys a quick little tour. I'll be here from 2 to 4 p.m. And then I would just do like the main living area, or if there was something that was like a particular feature of that property that I knew would capture, I think, an audience.
Yeah.
And I would kind of highlight that. And then I'd say again, I'm at 1234 Main Street from 2 to 4 p.m. today. Like, come and stop by if you're in the neighborhood. Would love to see you. And then I would post that. But again, sometimes people would share that. Your friends are on that platform. So I would get people who would share that. So
Oh, wow.
that puts me in front of people that I don't know and that's it. Like, but I did that consistently. I tell them all the time, I'm like, if you're going to choose a way to market yourself, do three things or focus on three things. Don't spread yourself too thin.
Hmm.
Be consistent and give them time, but they will
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. So how often do you go live?
I didn't. Oh, so now I don't go on lives as often as I used to. So a lot of my business is now mostly Sphere. But I stay in front of them via social media now. But how often? I would say if I was having an open house, I was doing a live. So if I was doing
Okay.
one every weekend, then I would do it
Do
every
it every
weekend.
weekend. Yeah.
I
So
think the big point here is like continuity and staying top of mind.
continuity. I love that. And it's funny because it's literally the same thing as Instagram. You just
Uh-huh.
have to pick your platform and be
Yes.
consistent. And I do love Gary Vee all the time. And he's like always talking about like give value. Like don't
Yes.
ask for business. Like don't worry about your call to action, whatever.
Yeah.
Just post something of value so that people are
Are engaged.
automatically like, yeah,
Yeah.
because the more you're thinking about like how can I find this person, the less, it doesn't come out as authentic, right?
Yeah.
So if you were talking to a brand new agent
Hmm.
who just got their license, does not know what to do, and they're like, "Hey, Maribel, I want to do Facebook. What do
Yeah.
you want me to do?"
So first, I would ask them if they're on Facebook because we're talking about like what demographic are we appealing to? No, no, no. But so
Yes.
here's, yeah. So the first thing I think I ask them is know who your target audience is. Who is your avatar? What do they look like? What do they like? There's a reason because if if you can find what your avatar is, then you can reverse engineer your strategy to appeal to that person. So,
Okay.
there's a saying like if you focus on your garden and making it nice and pretty and putting all the nice flowers, then the bees will come. And so
Hmm.
the same is true for your profile or on Facebook or Instagram. I find that okay, so we're getting into what I would tell them. So first, identify your ideal target. What's their
Okay.
age? What do they do? And that's what I would fill my Instagram or my Facebook with. Like, okay, let's just say we're taking a millennial client. Well, we know that they probably have pets before they have children, and that's okay. Maybe, include a list of activities that are happening that are local to your city, in addition to, local restaurant recommendations in addition to house content, like deals that are kind of coming up, and then I would inject some stuff that makes you you, things that make you feel genuine and that would give a person a sense of what it's like to work with you.
Hmm.
Um, so I would post those specific things. One, that's to kind of get engagement, but then two, I can't say this enough. At the end of the day, the more conversations that you're having, you increase the likelihood that you're going to meet a prospective buyer or a prospective seller. So at the end of the day, I would still couple social media with open houses. So I would host open houses. If I had to get business immediately, the first thing I would do is I would look for open houses to host. The beautiful thing is that we have an amazing network and you literally can go to any agent and say, "Hey, I see that you've got a house here. Can I host it for you from 12 to 2?" I think where people go wrong is that they don't host enough. One, they're not
Yeah.
consistent and they don't host enough. So, for instance, if this was me, I would go in and I would host 4 open houses a weekend. I would switch up the homes, maybe switch up the locations in case one is a dud. I make up for it in the next one. But I would probably host one from 12 to 2 and another one from 2 to 4 or whatever, 11 to 1, another one 2 to 4. And I would do that Saturday and Sunday. And then what would I do in addition to my social media strategy? I would go live on those, like maybe one a day and say, "Hey guys, I'm hosting an open house." Or I would post about it on my social media. The reason being is because, again, the more that you show up on people's social media, they're going to equate house buying or house selling to you.
Yeah.
So even if it's not them, if it's someone that they know, they're going to be like, "Hey, you know what? I remember you were talking about that you wanted to buy a house. I keep seeing the squirrel Rose. Let me get you her information, or let me get you, or do you mind if I share her information with you? Like she seems really knowledgeable. She's always hosting open houses. She works all over town, whatever the case may be, but people really do want to be helpful. Like I can't tell you the amount of referrals that I get. Sometimes I can't even track them back to the source. They're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, my cousin, you used to work with her." And I'm like, "Girl,
You're
I
like,
had
wow.
like so many different careers before real estate. I have no idea who you're talking about." But I would probably couple those two strategies. So I would say the open houses, and then of course you want to create engagement, you want to create an audience, and so marry the two. Do that
Hmm.
consistently is what I would do.
Perfect. Now, do you incorporate like Facebook groups or anything?
So I have before in the past. If I'm looking for a specific type of client, so like for instance, currently I'm going to be looking for commercial clients. So I'll probably hop into some of those Facebook. I am a part of a lot of Facebook groups. So I'll probably hop in there and find listings and post them in there to try to draw in my buyer. But
Yeah.
I would do that. As a matter of fact, one of the best success stories that I had was I shot this one live and I was in an area where I had terrible reception. So this wasn't even like my best live, like at all. Like I think I lost it and then I come back up and I was like, all right, well, whatever, I'm gonna be here. And it got shared like 40 something times.
Wow.
So my client shared it. My client must have told her family members, like, you guys share it. They shared it onto Facebook groups. Long story short, a couple in Nebraska saw this video. I'm not joking. And they reached out to me and they were like, we're looking at moving to Houston, Texas. And we're looking to buy, and my mother is looking to move, and she's looking to buy. That one, that one live, I probably made at least $35,000 in commissions.
Wow.
I mean, we're talking
That's
about
awesome.
they bought two homes, and then maybe 6 months later, they bought like a beach house.
Wow. And
Mhm.
that was like a 2-minute video.
Yeah, like a 1 minute video.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that. So what I'm hearing you say is do open houses so that you're in
Yes.
front of people. If you could do four, great. And then marry the social media into it,
Yes.
going live, showing that you're active. Now, if they were, would you still recommend that they post morning, afternoon, evening as starting
Yes.
off?
Yes.
Um, and that's like through Facebook or even Instagram, right?
Yeah. And
Okay.
so what I wouldn't recommend they do, so one with Facebook, I wouldn't recommend that you create a business page because to migrate all of your database over to a business page, listen, I did it, but still my engagement is higher on my personal. And why? Because I post about my family. I post about
Hmm.
the funny things my kids say, the interests that I have. Like there's just more fun stuff over here. Over here it's all real estate.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say like don't worry necessarily about same thing for Instagram. Like don't worry about necessarily creating a business page. Like marry the two, just make sure that you get on that page. Um man, Rose, I'm so sorry. I forgot the question that I was answering.
Oh, no, 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 no worries. Well, no, I think that's great
Oh,
to
what I was going to say was don't link your Instagram to your Facebook to post at the same time
okay.
because they engage at different times. So like my Instagram people are on Instagram at different times. Like the best time for me to post are, believe it or not, on like Wednesdays, Sundays. Like Wednesdays at 7 p.m. I have like the highest engagement. The same is not going to be true for Facebook.
Yeah.
So I could really miss the mark there
So
if I
how does one find out like when people are engaging on what platform? Because like for me, I use Instagram more, and so it
Mhm.
automatically pushes it out to my Facebook. I've never thought about having different strategies for each of the platforms because they connect. So,
Yeah.
like how do you find out like when your engagement's higher on Facebook? Is it just when you post and you just see more stuff happening? Just
Yeah,
kind
more
of testing
activity,
it
more
out.
comments, more likes. Yes, but I believe if you have a digital creator profile on Facebook, you can see your analytics on there, just
Okay.
like you can on Instagram.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And I love what you say about not having a business page.
Hmm.
The only reason we have one is because we have a team.
Yeah.
But I also did the same thing with Instagram where I built my business through Instagram personal page where I just had a baby. So he was
Yeah.
like all over my feed. I love working out. And then I would post houses here and there and literally built my business in the beginning through Instagram. But I feel like people get to know you on a personal level. Like when you're just
They
throwing
do.
up real estate, it's kind of like, oh, everybody does that, nothing different. But then when they get to know you on a personal level with your family, your kids, what you like
Hmm.
to do, you kind of attract that same kind of group. I always tell people like my first CrossFit gym was like the most clients I've ever had before. Because they
Really?
yeah. So I did CrossFit in the Bay Area. and I was on Instagram. I never told anybody in the gym I was a realtor. I would go in, I would go out, I'd go to the like get-togethers and just, be normal, not talk about what I did. But we were friends on Instagram on my personal page, and I would work out and I would tag my gym, and my gym would repost the story, and then that's how people would find me. And then all of a sudden, I would get random DMs from people at the gym like, hey, I want to look at this house, and hey, can you help me sell my house? And I literally have tons of clients from that one gym. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is crazy just from posting workout videos and and like
No,
trying to.
but so you just hit the nail on the head on if you're posting what to post. So
Mhm.
I, I when I would post, I would break it into 30%.
Okay.
30% business.
Hmm.
Now, if you asked other people, they would probably say like, "Hey, mostly post business." But for me,
Hmm.
the formula that worked was very similar to yours. It was 30% business, 30% family, and 30% of my personal interests. So that way
Hmm.
they knew you were family oriented, you like to work out. People will identify with you over the craziest things. People identified with
Hmm.
you because they were like, well, she works out. We have similar, like I imagine they think, well, if I'm going to go house shopping, I'm going to go with someone that I would like. And she seems
Yeah.
cool. I think I would like her. So, people want to do business with people that they like.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. So you're a mom.
I am.
How do you balance, that whole like working and then having is your son?
I have three
Oh,
boys.
three
So I have
three
three sons.
boys. Oh my
Yes, I
gosh.
do. So I have a 16-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 10-year-old.
Wow,
I
you have your hands full. Are
I
they all in
do, I do. They're
sports?
great kids though. So I think that leverage is extremely important. I think it's really tough to have a work-life balance. I honestly don't believe in it. I just
Yeah.
think that your personal life integrates into your work
Hmm.
life and vice versa. And
Yeah.
so um, how do I manage? I'm really big, just like we transition our clients and say, hey, now you're going under contract and here's what you can expect. And I do the same thing with my kids.
Okay.
So, of course, they already know, but there's times where they've had to go to showings with me because, during the market when we had a huge demand, I mean, if I'm picking them up and they're like, hey, Maribel, can we see this house? And we're fighting multiple offers all day long, those kids knew I would transition them. I'd say, hey guys, I just got a client and they'd like to see this house. We're going to go ahead and tour it. And then of course I would bribe them. I would be like, hey, but afterwards we can go and get some ice cream and they'd be like, all right, fine. That's a win-win to me. But I set expectations with them since they were little. I started real estate when I was expecting my youngest. And so this is all he's known me ever to do.
Yeah.
But they know when mom's on the phone, we have to keep quiet so that she can have a conversation because it's business and business means money in our household for us to have the things we need and do the things that we'd like to do. But aside from that, it's leverage,
Yeah.
it's having a transaction coordinator to write contracts so I'm not missing the important parts because I need to write a contract.
Yeah.
I don't have a team. I used to have a team, but once I branched off from having a team, I I knew that I still wanted to maintain the same level of business. And so I partnered up with an amazing agent and she was my buyer agent. And so, but we would work a transaction together, I would say during the week, because I have shared custody. If I have my children during the week, I'm not showing any more than 2 days in the evening because it's important. We don't get this time back.
Yeah.
So I knew like, hey, here's what I'm willing to compensate you for. If you can just show from beginning to end, re-engage me when they're ready to make an offer. And we had, I mean, a great system. And so, I have things that I'm very flexible on. I think that's important. And then there's things that I'm not inflexible on that I'm like, okay, this has to work this way. And I think how I do my business and finding a solution, and sometimes it looks different. Um, um and it shifts all the time, but I would say leverage, like
Yeah.
online grocery shop, like that's not my highest and best use is not strolling down
Yeah.
and like losing time there. Recently, like if I've noticed that the kids have taken too much time, like in between doing laundry and I've got a pile, I'm like, well, I'm not going to babysit and make sure that they do it. So I'm like, bag it up. We're going to drop it off and have it get, go to a wash and fold. Like I have somebody who helps me with cleaning,
Yeah.
deep cleaning my house. Like where I can leverage, where I can duplicate myself, I will, because it's not always my highest and best use,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just I've let go of control in some of those areas. That's probably it. And then of course
Yeah.
I've got like an amazing village. I have friends and I have family that if for some reason I'm like I'm gonna have a long day and it has to be me who's with this client, then I will tap in like my mom or something and say, I need someone to stay with these kids and make sure they don't kill each other. But I mean, I when people ask me like, how do you do it? I'm sure you get it too because you balance so much. And you just say to them like, it's just like any other ball you have in
Yeah.
the air. Like I'm doing the same thing you are. I'm just managing different
Yeah.
things. You have to plan for it. That's
Yeah.
it.
And I think one thing that you said that's super important is like the leveraging and delegating, right? So I've worked with a lot of women, and they feel like it's their job and their role to clean the house, to fold the
Yeah.
laundry and all that stuff, right? And there's some block in their head that it's not okay to hire someone to do that. And so I've told people, I'm like, your hour is very valuable. I rather spend time with my children doing the things that we love doing versus going upstairs and locking myself in my laundry room folding laundry for an hour, whereas someone can do
100%.
it for 20 bucks for the hour, right?
I know.
Um,
You're
yeah,
right.
or like even having someone come clean the house, there's just so much stuff that we can effectively delegate to other people without having that guilt of I'm not, supposed to be giving this to someone else. I'm a mom. I should be doing this because that's what society claimed us to be, right? And so
I
I love
agree.
that, because we are business owners. We
Yep.
are, doing the best that we can with our children. And I do rather sit there and enjoy my time with my kids and not worry about having to do the dishes or doing this and that.
And I think the thing is that at the end of the day, I take this back to it's all in reframing, right? It's tough to let go. Like, does my I call her my cleaning fairy. Does my cleaning fairy, does she do everything exactly? Like, do I find piles of stuff because she didn't know where to put it? Of course. So when I come in, it smells it smells wonderful, but I know
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a pile. But you know what? That 10 minutes that it took me to put away that pile versus that 4 hours,
Hmm.
not worth, you know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah.
going to concede to certain things. But the way that I look at it is this. And I think that when you think of it in these terms, it's easier for you to say no to a lot of stuff. The way that I think of it is I'm here, I'm pursuing my dreams, I'm pursuing my goals, and and for me, this is everyday life. Like I made the choice to pursue my dreams and but to my kids, it's their childhood. So it's different for them. For us, it's
Yeah.
like every other day, but for them, it's their childhood. They're going to look back to this time, you know?
Yeah.
And so we get a limited amount of time with them, and I want to make sure that I make the best use of that time. And if you look at everything as a problem, because essentially all we are, Rose, are problem solvers, whether it
Hmm.
be that our kids have a project due. Well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Let's go to the store and get you that project board at the last minute. That's a problem that you're solving. The laundry, it's a problem. It's a small problem.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, and I tell my kids this, I'm like, everything is a problem. You get paid more money for the problems that you solve if they're bigger problems. So do the math on how much it is that you earn, divide that by hours, and that's how much you're worth. If you spend 1 hour on laundry, and let's just say you're worth $350, well, it costs you $350 to do that laundry versus
Yeah.
dropping it off for 30 bucks. That's not a good business decision, is it? Like
Right.
you hire someone for 350 bucks to do your laundry for an hour because that's what you just did, you know?
Yeah.
But also I remember because I would feel guilty about this. I tell you this now, but I remember seeing I think masterclass or there's a an interview with the former CEO of Pepsi. I believe she's a South Asian woman, and
Oh,
she has short hair, and she talks about how one day she gets a call, or I think she's getting ready to leave for the day, and her son's like, "Mom," or I know I think she got a call at the office. Did you forget that you're bringing homemade cookies, to the school? And she's like, no, I didn't know I had to bring homemade cookies. And she's like, and he tells her, but don't get store-bought cookies. Everyone will know they have to be homemade. And again, a problem, right? And so she goes, so I called downstairs to the cafeteria and she asks the staff, she's like, is there any way we can make homemade chocolate chip cookies? Can they be ready in about 20 minutes? And they're like, yeah, I think we have the ingredients. They whip some
oh
up.
my gosh.
And she's like, I even asked them, can you put foil on them so they look like they're homemade?
Yeah.
And she's like, and the at the end of the day, her kid is just going to remember that she showed up with homemade cookies and she showed up. So
Yeah.
like let's not get lost on the details. Our kids in 20 years are not going to care that we weren't the one cleaning the house, that we
Hmm.
weren't the one doing the laundry, that we had help because mom was out there building her business to field their dreams, because we don't know what our kids are going to do. We
Yeah.
don't know what kind of capital it's going to take. And could you imagine instead of your kid having to pitch someone else for their dream, being able to say, "Hey, mom, I want to do this. What do you think? Would you be willing
Hmm.
to invest?"
Yeah.
Completely
Oh,
different feeling.
I just got goosebumps. I love that. And the fact that like we're teaching them by what we do, right? We're
Yeah.
leading by example of, choosing us over something else and really putting that business mindset into everything we do with our family. So I really love that.
I'm
You
sorry. I just started tearing up because I'm
Oh,
like,
I
sometimes
literally had
we
goosebumps.
forget. We
Yeah.
forget because we're in the day to day of what we do that we forget like we are doing it for these little people.
Yeah, we
In some
are.
way,
We
shape, or
sure.
form, we're doing it for these little people.
I
Oh God.
love that.
Sorry.
Yeah. And that's, and that's something that we have to remember. And sometimes when that mom guilt kicks in, right, you have to really think about like what kind of life we're providing for them.
Yeah.
And whether they realize it or not, when they're older, they will remember and it instills everything in them. Like they watch us doing this and running a business and doing the
Mhm.
podcasts, and it gives them that hope that, like, hey, if mom can do it, so can
Yeah.
I. Right. So
100%.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. That was great. So thank you, Maribel, for joining me today. You gave a lot of really good feedback on Facebook and how a new agent can get started, and just even our conversation with being a mom in business. I really appreciate all the
You're
nuggets that
so
you gave
welcome.
today. So if any of you guys have any clients out in the Houston, Texas area, make sure to reach out to Maribel. And if you guys have any questions about Facebook or whatever, I'm sure she'd be happy to um,
Absolutely.
walk you guys through that. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you guys on the next video.